It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Hearts 13.
This mini is called Across the Ringverse. If in the unlikely event that Sega confirms if both the humanoid, Mobian or Islander, and non-humanoid, animal buddies, they kind of display almost normal animal levels of anthropomorphism, groups of anthropomorphic animal-like entities were to have originated from convergent evolution, do you think that would mean that ape-like entities would have to have also evolved from various species or families of the animal kingdom? Would there be cat apes, dog apes, lizard apes, bird apes, etc.? Or would the animal buddies of the early Sonic games are like, well, the simians are to humans, like they are to animal people? Does this make sense to you, Ian?
I feel like I'm wandering in the woods and I can say these are definitely trees. I understand where I am. I'm in a forest. I think the easiest way to say this is that, maybe there is a common animal ancestor and that some turned into normies and some turned into realistic animals and some turned into little animals. And don't think too hard about the biology of it because it's a fantasy cartoon series. It's not meant to have hard rules of biology.
I'm just flashing back to that scene from DuckTales where the ducks are feeding the ducks. Don't think about it too hard. Another what if. In an alternate 1996, the Sega subsidiaries of America and Japan hire some animation companies to make an animated TV series based on the 32X game Knuckles Chaotix. The only problem is they actually make two of these series. In Japan, Pierrot, the guys who made the Sonic OVA, make a 3-episode OVA miniseries, while in America, DiC a 14-episode season. Do you think Sega would pick Pierrot's Chaotix OVA, DiC's The Chaotix Show, or both?
Well, if we're talking 96, it'd be both.
Yeah.
Japan would get the OVA exclusively, and America would get the DiC show, and there would be rumblings of it on the playground about there being another Knuckles cartoon, but with better animation in Japan. And, bootleg copies of the VHS tape would circulate in the early aughts. And then it wouldn't be until, the early 2010s that we actually get the high remaster with terrible dubbing of the OVA. And we're like, oh, this wasn't as great as we were led to believe. And then some fool on a lore council decides to make both of them canon somehow. And he talks about it on this podcast in a desperate attempt to get people to listen to him.
Does it work? Surprisingly?
Well,
kinda. Yeah. How would a confrontation between the non-roboticized Princess Sally Acorn pre-Super Genesis Wave and Princess Sally Acorn post-Super Genesis Wave play out? They are similar but different from their skills and experience and strategic mindsets, their family's functionality, their duties, and their hardships. If they were to talk with each other, what would they think of their counterparts' lives, and what would they find interesting or concerning about their other selves? What would they have common ground in?
I think post-Sally would be very sympathetic towards pre-Sally's burdens, to have gone through so much hardship and familial strife that she never had to put up with and still come out solid on the other side. There would be a great deal of respect there. And I think she would kind of wonder if she herself could have weathered that. I mean, sure, they're both Sally, but she lived up in a very different upbringing.
Yeah.
Could she measure up to herself, as it were? Whereas pre-Sally would be, I think, just a trifle bit jealous of how much freer and inherently happier post-Sally is. Wishing that she could have had some of that for herself, but not in a begrudging way. She's not going to look at a way to steal that past, but kind of thinking, oh, what might have been, but not being too hung up on it because she's already dealt with so much loss and disappointment, that's kind of par for the course. Add that one to the list. Just going to roll with it. But otherwise, they'd get along swimmingly, comparing strategies, talking about how hard it is to keep Sonic in line to varying degrees. Does he do this? Oh, he absolutely does this. Oh, it's a constant across all realities. Great. Comparing tech. Have you noticed this weakness in this style of Badnik? No, can that apply here? Ooh, interesting. And, just pal around and have a good old time.
I would like to see it. We won't, but I would like to. At least not outside of fan stuff. What would be the music for a hypothetical SatAM/Archie Sonic movie in an alternate timeline, late 90s or mid 2000s? Which 80s and 90s musicians do you think would write and sing the songs for this film? Personally, I feel like the retro vibe for the songs could be filled by NSYNC, Shanice, Patti LaBelle, Stan Bush, and or Huey Lewis and the News. I've been listening to them a lot lately.
Kyle, I defer to your judgment on this one.
I mean, honestly, I kind of like Hearts' lineup here. It's not too bad.
I can't imagine there'd be too much original music written, though. I figured it would just be grab what's popular and plug it in for the sequence.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think Hearts kind of has it. I'm trying to think of how that would necessarily go. Because if it were the late 90s and mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s, though, I feel like they might go for a darker, edgy sound, especially if it's SatAM and Archie Sonic inspired. They might go for something more along the lines of what you would have gotten in a Shadow game.
Oh boy.
Might have gone darker, maybe. I don't know. They might have gone full new metal and put Power Man 5000 in there or something crazy like that. Who would do that in a Sonic thing?
Sonic movie featuring Slipknot.
Well, if we're talking around this time, that's more likely than you might think.
Rob Zombie is the guest voice for Robotnik.
Or it would have been, let's see, what else? It would have been, Coolio. They'd have put Coolio in there. Gangster's Paradise.
I could hear that.
Yes. And it wouldn't be ironic for the lulz like it was for the current actual Sonic movie we got. Yes. Decepticons and New Gods of Apocalypse. If Megatron from the 2007 animated series met Darkseid from the DC animated universe, how would the encounter go? Would they fight for control of the universe? Would they work together? Would they stab each other in the back?
I'm not familiar with the 2007 cartoon. Most of my experience with animated Megatron is the OG version. But assuming that they are fairly comparable, Megatron, as I understand him, is uncompromising. He is not one to barter or bow or ally unless he absolutely has to for immediate gain. And likewise, Darkseid is kind of the same. People serve Darkseid. Darkseid doesn't make alliances or allowances. Darkseid is. So I imagine they would be antagonistic from the very get-go and would do more harm to each other than to the heroes overall.
Yeah, I don't think it would go well. Yeah, I do not see this playing out nicely, but it would be interesting. Always like a good villain fight. A hypothetical crossover between the retro alternate realities of 1984 Transformers animated television series and the 93 Sonic Saturday Morning animated television series. How would the SatAM cast and Transformers interact with each other, and do you think these kinds of scenarios would play out in a certain way? An alliance between the Freedom Fighters and Autobots, Dr. Robotnik versus Megatron, SWATbots upgraded with Transformer tech, the Decepticons' invasion of Mobius, a Starscream and Snively Robotnik team-up, and betrayal of each other, etc.
I feel like you've hit on most of the high points already.
I know. It writes itself.
I mean, there's got to be a gag in there somewhere of Jaleel White Sonic going, you have to transform before you roll out. Watch this. And then he does a spin dash.
Yep.
harken back to that weird little phase on the internet where everyone was shipping Optimus Prime and Sally. Why not? We'll do a call back to that. Yeah, I don't know where it started, but for like a week, it was like, yep, they are totally going to work together.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, why not?
There's some solid fan art of it, too. It's like, you know what?
Okay.
They actually would work well together. It'd be kind of cool. And really, can you pass up on the option of Sally riding in the cab and just pulling the horn and running over SWAT bots?
No, I can't argue with that. That's a great visual.
I mean, imagine the opening sequence of Sat AM, and instead of Sonic carrying her away from the dam, it's just Optimus Prime rolling through people.
Okay. I'm sold. You got me. You know me well, Ian. You know what appeals to me and my simple sensibilities. I'm a simple man.
I guess you have to have a moment of Wheeljack and Rotor working together.
Yeah.
Maybe they're repairing Ironhide, because what is he there for except to job, perhaps? I'm speaking very broadly. I don't remember much about 84 Transformers.
Yeah.
Bonding moment between Tails and Grimlock. Grimlock inspiring small child, be brave like Grimlock. But I can't bite SWAT bots in half like you. No, Tails is very puny, not big and strong like Grimlock. But one day, Tails can fly with butt. Grimlock cannot fly with butt. Tails is special.
Tails is special, dang it.
And you know what? Let's do a little switcheroo here where Snively sees, the enterprising and domineering Megatron and just switches sides entirely. He knows his way around this world. He can open the doors to Robotropolis. Just let him serve within this new glorious robot revolution. Where meanwhile, Starscream sees what Robotnik has done. He's conquered a whole world in like a matter of months? Megatron's still struggling against Cybertron, for pity's sake. No, clearly this human has the right idea. He's even part robot himself. So he switches sides completely, and you have the two traitors fighting each other.
On the opposite sides. Nice. Oh, that's fun. That's a fun one.
And at the very end, have them both crawling back to their masters using the exact same dialogue. Oh, no. I was acting as a double agent for you. I was a spy on the other side. Couldn't you tell?
Oh, yeah. I think this could work. I like this. There might be some trepidation because, the Transformers are robots, and robots are like a big thing for Sonic, but they'd probably get over it pretty quick.
Yeah, he'd have a chip on his shoulder, of course, for a little bit, but
yeah, they'd figure it out though. Once he figures out that they're not all evil and that they are actually people and not just mindless robots,
An extended running gag of Antoine running from the various cassettes launched by Soundwave.
Sacre bleu!
Bunny and Bumblebee just have a cool moment together, because why not?
Yep. Why not?
I don't know. It would have been fun.
Yep. Yeah, it would have. Whisper meets the Death Wolf from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Late at night, Whisper is at a bar drinking tea when a mysterious hooded wolfman appears beside her, and he's delivered a message in written form in the handwriting of Smithy the Lion on the back of a photo of the Diamond Cutters. A message all the way from the afterlife. What is the last message that the Diamond Cutters delivered to Whisper, and how does she respond to it, and what is her general opinion on meeting the living personification of death itself?
We'll go backwards, because Death appears next to her, and she kind of gives him the side eye and says, "What took you so long?"
I've been waiting for you.
And he just kind of clucks his tongue and is like, "It's not time for you, senorita, but I bring you a gift." And I don't know why my attempt at Spanish turned into Dracula, but
Well, that happens. It's okay.
He slides the photo over, and it's a message from not just Smithy, but the entire crew, telling her to be happy and move on. Remember them. Do not carry their weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that messes her up all sorts of bad. And Death does a respectful nod and heads out to go kill a tabby.
Oh, no. More multiverse shenanigans. Dr. Robotnik from Sat AM teams up with Big Jack Horner from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish to obtain Eraser Jin's lamp in the Arabian Nights book world. How badly does this team up go?
Disastrous.
I was going to say, not well. Not well.
Maybe they make it a mile out of town with Jack Horner's promise of getting the lamp and Robotnik thinking that he can work with this doofus, use him to his own ends. I mean, he brought his own crew of bakers to attack. You know, that's less work on his part. But Jack would get on his last nerve real fast. And the violent, inevitable betrayal would be almost instantaneous. Oh, yeah.
Would not go well. I don't even know if they'd make it into the book world.
Oh, God, no.
No, they wouldn't even get that far. The cricket from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, through again more multiverse shenanigans, ends up in the pre-Super Genesis Wave timeline / Prime Zone and ends up on the shoulder of King Maximilian Acorn, pre-crippled state. Does the king make wiser choices in this scenario with his new conscience, or is he beyond redemption?
Well, what are you doing? That's your daughter, for pity's sake. Show her a shred of niceness, why don't you?
Nope. Probably not.
Weren't you a fox in a flashback?
Don't point out the plot holes.
As inconsistent as Max could be written, I think that anyone telling him that he is wrong, that isn't like maybe the queen, is just going to make him double down.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, he's a father written during that era of Sonic. He's not going to listen to anything. It's his way or the highway.
About the third time he gets corrected on something, he's just going to order one of those giant bear guards to put the cricket in a jar and leave it on a shelf somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot to put the air holes in. Hello?
Oh, didn't forget. Oof. Big oof. A hypothetical crossover between the post-apocalyptic realities of Adventure Time and Archie Sonic, pre-Super Genesis Wave. How do the Archie Sonic cast and Adventure Time cast interact with each other, and who would the main villains be?
This is tricky because I'm not super familiar with all the ins and outs of Adventure Time. And Adventure Time is so acid trippy, everything could possibly be valid. Like when your dystopian cyber fantasy of Sat AM is the more grounded of the two. It's hard to draw parallels. I would almost say it would be an easier crossover to do Adventures of, because that was anything goes slapsticky, hero and companion. Adventures of Sonic and Tails would mesh with Finn and Jake way easier, I think.
Yeah, but that's not what they're asking.
I know. I actually don't know if I can do this one off the top of my head. Just like, sure, you could draw an easy parallel and say Princess Bubblegum and Sally coordinating, but Bubblegum is such a mad scientist in her own right and kind of morally gray that I don't think you could get a lot of mileage out of that. I think Sally would be off-put by it. Antoine being inexplicably able to understand and speak Korean with the rainbow corn is kind of funny as an idea, but Rainicorn? Is that what she was called?
I have no idea.
I am rusty on Adventure Time at best. Villains, we'll just say Snively was bumped over into the Adventure Time world and is forced to serve the Ice King, and shenanigans ensue. He doesn't like being called Gunther, but you know what? He'll work with it. He can play this dope. He can take over this world easy. And then it leads to some kind of horrible nightmare fuel end for him.
Yeah. I think you're thinking of Lady Rainicorn.
Lady Rainicorn,
That's what I'm being told. The Ice King from the early seasons of Adventure Time ends up in the Sonic multiverse and attempts to woo and or kidnap the princesses of these realities. Sally Acorn from Sat AM, Princess Sally, or Princess Blaze the Cat from the Soul Dimension, and Princess Elise from the 06 timeline. What are the princess's thoughts on the sad, strange old man How well or badly does the kidnapping attempt go, and what is their escape plan? How did they react to watching Simon's videotape about the ice crown?
Don't know the video reference itself, but Sadie and Sally might be kidnapped for a bit, but she would be able to escape on her own and be back before Ice King even knows she got away. She would be able to play him pretty easily. Blaze, if she doesn't outright kill him, she will drive him off, to be sure. She isn't going to be kidnapped to any degree. Ice King will be sent packing. At least, she absolutely gets kidnapped. Like, that's her superpower, is being a victim. Until we'll just assume from my spotty memory that the video is somehow incredibly tragic and sad, causing Elise to cry, and thus Iblis erupts in the middle of the Ice King's palace.
Oh no!
Oh, geez, shouldn't have kidnapped her. She's got baggage.
You know what? These three together, I want to see it. I want to see this team up. Like, I want to see Elise get her redemption and team up with Sally and Blaze. It'd just be like three badass princesses. That's what I want.
Maybe sadly goes along with it because he lets slip that he kidnaps other princesses.
Yeah.
She's going to be added to the group, so she figures, okay, she has to rescue people.
Yeah.
Blaze, same idea. So between Blaze's firepower and Sally's coordination and the various princesses and their abilities, yeah, they'd all be going home eventually. They'd be fine.
I don't need any rescuing. They rescue themselves. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Blaze the cat individually meets all three versions of Princess Sally Acorn during her multiversal travels. What are her initial thoughts on each version of this heroic rebel princess? Can she relate to her struggle to save/protect her kingdom from a maniacal dictator scientist?
She definitely would be appreciative that each Sally was fighting the good fight without any kind of special powers or MacGuffins on their side, as a general rule. Especially Sadie and Sally. She had whatever Rotor could cobble together from spare parts on a tree. So the fact that they were able to make any kind of headway would be impressive. She would appreciate all three versions' ability to kind of keep cool under pressure, to be rational when action would seem like the better course of action. And I don't know, when you get down to the nuancy stuff,
I mean, they all three have that same sort of tenacity about them. They just keep going. They're very much your determinator. They don't really seem to stop.
It's more like different facets of the same character. At their core, they run very similarly. So I can't really say there'd be that much of a difference in terms of interaction.
Yeah. Blaze asks, are you a chipmunk, a fox, or a squirrel? And all three of them will just simultaneously say yes. Multiversal Shenanigans swaps Sonic from Set AM with Tangle the Lemur from IDW. How do the Freedom Fighters react with this scenario when Tangle inevitably joins the Freedom Fighters? Does she do well, get on some of their nerves, a little bit of both? And what are each of the Freedom Fighters' positive and negative responses to both Tangle's contributions and disruptions to the group?
They'd be alarmed that their friend and greatest asset in the war effort is gone. But Tangle would take to it pretty quickly, I think.
Tangle slips into that role pretty well.
Yeah. Like, once she's up to speed on, this is a different version of reality, and, they've lost their Sonic, well, she's just going to have to step up and fill the role, won't she?
That's right.
So Sally would be greatly appreciative of this stranger coming in and lending all of her incredible talents to their cause without question. That selflessness and that heroism are fantastic. She does skew a little closer to Sonic's temperament than she was hoping for. Maybe stop and listen to the full plan before you go launching off into Robotropolis. Tangle, come back! But, her heart's in the right place. Bunny, just adores her. No, aren't you just the little pepper pod? They get along swimmingly. They're comparing stretchy limbs. They're having a grand old time.
Oh, yeah.
Rotor, finds another good friend and confidant, someone who's just generally upbeat and positive around him. Does prefer her to stay out of the lab when he's working. A little bit distracting, a little bit destructive, but, in general, glad to have her around. She'd have a moment to kind of come down and be reassuring and big sisterly to Tails, who is missing Sonic super bad.
Yeah.
Be an odd moment where she gets to have that kind of mentor role, which even she'd reflect on going, this is kind of weird. I'm feeling responsible. Ew. And Antoine would just be tired of her real fast. So many antics. So many bouncing around the walls. Can she not be sitting still for just one moment? And Tangle can tease him playfully. Not nearly as mean-spirited as Sad AM Sonic would. But,
no.
The guy's kind of asking for it. When you put yourself on the pedestal that high, you're going to topple over.
Yeah, but then at some point, they kind of... I feel like more than Antoine and Sonic, they would kind of reconcile and recognize each other.
Yeah, because Tangle didn't have the ego that Sonic has. And she is a generally more wholesome individual, so she would bring the olive branch first.
Yeah.
They would get along eventually.
Yep.
She doesn't have quite the solve the plot powers of Sad AM Sonic, but she is more kind of game power oriented, which would make her something of a wrecking ball in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
So she wouldn't be turning the tide of the war, but she would still be a very valuable asset to the team.
Yeah. Would she, would Nicole be like talking to her kind of like she talked to Sonic in season 2? Like, Sonic, my main hedgehog.
Yeah, she'd try to teach her to liven up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dulcie would probably just love her.
Yeah. I mean, they're both sweethearts deep down.
Yeah.
And, Tangle could basically swing from her like she's on a swing during mid-flight. Are you kidding? That kind of height would be delightful. Dulcie had what was it, the crack the whip?
Yeah.
Strike her tail and get an air boost. So once Tangle finds that out, all starry-eyed, we got to do a double crack the whip, see if that works.
Oh, yeah. And Lupe would appreciate her enthusiasm, but probably get tired of her.
More or less on the same wavelength as Sally. It's like, she is quite the heroic heart. I think I need to take her in small doses. You can stay on Sally's team.
Yeah.
They need you more over there. We'll let you know if we need help over here. I promise. Yeah, I super promise.
It's true. It's true.
No, there's nobody here named Whisper. Go back over to Sally's team, please.
And our last question. 200 years in Silver's age, the stories of Sonic's age could have been lost in translation, leading to the creation of various myths, such as a few models of badniks being theorized as being a special task squad of badniks created to take down Sonic, like the Sonic 2 badniks being mistranslated as the S6 squad, Sonic's animal buddies being misinterpreted as freedom fighters fighting with Sonic. From Sad AM, Archie and Fleetway, you got Ricky Squirrel, Pocky Rabbit, and Johnny Lightfoot as Sally, Bunny, and Rotor. And then Peaky as Porker Lewis. A myth that Sonic was royalty, had triplet siblings, and was part of a rock band. The myth of Sonic Underground being a mistranslation of historical records of classic Sonic's rock band. Dr. Robotnik's nickname, Eggman, being mistranslated as his origin story of being a scientist who got fused with an egg. Robotnik's origins from the American Sonic Bible and Fleetway comics, etc. Do you think a lot of the alternate continuities of Sonic being myths and legends in Sonic's world that may not have happened would be an interesting explanation?
It's certainly a novel way of approaching it.
I could see that.
But this is pretty much square in the fan idea realm, so I can't use this ever.
Oh, I was wondering, I mean, because these are like canonical things that have happened or that were at one point official. So
Yeah, but using the narrative device to thread them all together in that fashion is an original concept.
I suppose. Well,
And it is a novel one. It is a clever one. So hats off to you for that one, but off the table.
all right. Well, that's all we got for this edition of the BumbleKast.
Yep, thanks to Hearts13 for sponsoring this episode. If you want a BumbleKast Mini of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
See you in the next one.